And today we are very proud to say we are partnered with most of these larger internet companies in India. And we process more than 1.4 billion transactions in a year and move upwards of $50 billion transactions every year. Today we get more than 45 to 50% of new SME signups which are happening in India right on Cashfree. Right, we get more than 30,000 leads on Cashfree platform every month, which is a very sizable number. Fintech, if you get the product right, distribution is something you can achieve it. And in our industry, distribution becomes a commodity beyond a point. Marketing becomes a commodity beyond a point. Then the only unique thing you have is the product and your service quality. And that is where any company who spends most of their effort and energy, they'll become bigger. Right? So imagine if your 80% leads are coming through Google Ads. Right? It is not a very sustainable state for any company. Right? So there's a lot of leads at any point of time have to come through organic channels. And that is where we invested time significantly in last 3 to 4 years, which are paying off. Like, it's not like we had a very huge data point, but whatever data point we had in front of us was convincing enough for us to start this up. Like, just try it out. We got events companies signed up. We got some food delivery companies signed up, very small ones. But it was good enough to encourage us, keep the momentum. And as we continue to grow bigger, right, we started competing with these companies very head on. And by that time, our products had matured. Right, and our main attraction point was, I am going to give you something which no one else is giving, right, and that helped us make entry. But overall, as I said, right, today it's apparent, right, 30,000 signups in a month is a very large number, right. This number used to be less than 5,000, I think, just 2.5 years back. Right, today, if you're building a new email software, right, the market is very saturated. People have Outlook, Gmail, and 10 other products like Zomato. It's difficult to penetrate because no one is looking for email software anymore. Right? Whatever is out there in the market, they're happy with it. Same is going to happen with payments also in the next 5 years. Right? So whatever payment companies are there today, in 5 years they'll become more dominant. And it's very difficult to start a payments company.
Hey, this is Siddharth. Welcome to 100x Entrepreneur Podcast. Today, I have with me Akash Sinha, founder of Cashfree Payments. Akash, welcome to the podcast.
Hey Siddharth, thank you very much for inviting me on the show.
So just to give our listeners a background about the payment ecosystem in India and about Cashfree Payments. Cashfree annually processes around $50 billion of payment through them. They are mostly B2B and their yearly average revenue is going to touch 100 million by the March 2023. Wow, that's a fantastic number for a company which has almost been, operating very silently. Kudos to you, Akash, for building such a mammoth. And today you are at 750 employees, mostly across Bangalore and in Delhi. And you dominate the entire B2B landscape, right? Especially the ones digital first landscape. So CRED Kunal Shah's company started their payments on you. MPL, one of the largest gaming platforms, started their payments on you. So tell us about your journey, right? From 2015 till now, right? Each milestone. And then after that, I would like you to dive into the Indian payment landscape. Like, how does it look like? How much is digital today? How much is physical? And how much do you own of that? And where are you headed?
Right, Siddharth. Yeah, thank you for putting a lot of perspective. I think this company was started in a period when we are seeing a lot of new business models coming on internet for the first time, right? That was the motivation for us to start a payments platform, which can build solution around digital payments for new kind of business models emerging on internet. And we saw a good gap. I think we had banks that time in the ecosystem, we had payment companies, but solutions which they had was largely catering towards offline businesses, right? They never built anything for scale. And they do not build things which can be automated well or something which is not very sophisticated to manage. Right? So there was a clear opportunity like on the side that we understood a lot of these new business models will require innovative payment solutions. Right? And we didn't see anyone going aggressive toward it. So that was the area, that excited us a lot, like made us start this company. And we have grown with such kind of business models which appeared on internet since 2015, right? Like e-commerce was growing back then, but now it is very large, right? You have business models around hyperlocal, gig economy. A lot of fintech ideas have come on internet ever since. So those has been growth engine for economy and as well as for Cashfree in last 7 years. And today we are very proud to say we are partnered with most of these larger internet companies in India. And we process more than 1.4 billion transactions in a year and move upwards of $50 billion transactions every year. So it's a very sizable company now, right? We are very proud of what we have built. And we have been very focused in our approach, right? I think our entire strategy has been pretty straightforward, right? We always wanted to focus on developer ecosystem, their easiness to use, right? Giving them more reliability, predictability, and we have been pretty successful in that area. The second area we wanted to go into is more around, DIY support, right? So normally we have seen, if you're using a SaaS platform, a SaaS portal, you have to, rely on the other company to do a lot of customization for you. You have to go and talk to their team. But we have invested a lot in DIY kind of support, right? If you need custom reporting on Cashfree, you can, go to the dashboard, decide which column you want to see, and you can get it. If you need to get, say, a webhook for certain events on the Cashfree, right? Be it like when settlement is happening or when refund is getting credited to the customer's account. So these are notifications you can configure yourself. The third area was more around like solving adjacent problems which are near to the core, right? So a lot of people will come to a platform to get their core payments handled, but sooner or later they'll also want some solution for the adjacent problems. Like, say, example, right? We started this product payouts back in 2016, right? And through payouts you can send money to anyone in India just by using their bank account number. Very soon we found out a lot of these businesses want to verify bank account number of their receivers before doing a payout. Yeah. It's not a core problem, but it's adjacent to the core problem. And we were very quick to build a solution around it. And that's how we make platform more relevant, more richer for the businesses we work with. And slowly, we also extend it. So these were the very simple core strategies we adopted. And this has resulted us, in making us one of the largest payments company in India today.
So today, if you have to describe the payment landscape of India, right? Let's dive into it further. So I think India's first payment gateway was BillDesk,
yeah,
through which powered all the banking websites, right? ICICI Bank, HDFC, they all use BillDesk. Now coming the e-commerce boom in 2010, right? I think the BillDesk was not ready for e-commerce. They were well suited for banking solutions. And e-commerce grew so fast that nobody had expected it, the payment volume to grow. And you started at the time, Razorpay started at the time. So help us map out the entire landscape of payments, both offline, online, on the machine, and on internet in India.
Sure, I can focus more on the online payments as a segment. See, online payments is also a very wide segment, right? And every, sub-segment has a different requirement. Right, I can take example. Let's say e-commerce as an industry requires, first better conversion for the customer, the smallest stack to complete the payments, and having very reliable refund support. Right, but say an example of lending as an industry, right? Lending doesn't have a refund use case, but the use case is getting payment on day, on time, right? And have solution around recurring payments so that they can automate the repayment, right? Then you look at things around, stockbroking. Stockbroking wants to verify where the funds are coming from, right? Where e-commerce as an industry doesn't care about it, right? So we have seen there are players who have built capabilities in certain segments, and they are the leaders, right? I mean, the kind of companies you have taken, or companies which started, say, pre-e-commerce area, they were largely catering to bill payments as an industry, which is very simpler, flow of payments, right? You collect money from customers, settle into bank account. But come around, say, 2015-16, you had business models around gig economy and hyperlocal, where the payment flows are slightly more complicated, right? You have to collect money from the customer. You have to settle part of that collection to the seller, which could be a restaurant partner. You have to settle part of that earning to your riders because they're delivering a product. And then you get the commission to your bank account, right? So payment flows have evolved, and companies who have been able to, evolve their product as per the market evolution, they have become more and more relevant into those segments, right? So if you look at digital first businesses, where Cashfree is one of the leaders in the market, right? So there are few players who serve that market very well. Then there are few incumbents who are very good at bill payments or government, because that market had a different requirement, right? I mean, you have different capabilities to build. So people have chosen, I think, their segment. Each of the pockets are large enough. And in countries like India, we will not have a kind of, universal payments winner in the space. Right, you'll have, say, winners into a specific space, and overall in the country we'll have multiple winners, right? And you can draw a lot of parallel with what happened with the banking industry, right? Today we have more than 180 or 200 banks which are very relevant right now. I mean, the list goes up to 900, but there are relevant banks, right? So that's what we believe. Even in payment, there will be 10 companies which are relevant, each getting to specific pockets. But in certain areas there will be leader, right? Say in SME segment, there will be 2 or 3 players which are large enough. In e-commerce as an industry, there will be 2 or 3 players which are large enough and cornering 90% of the entire market. So that will be the structure of the market, right? And it all depends on where company wants to innovate more, where company wants to invest more. because the way the markets have grown, each of these segments have become more deeper. It's not feasible for every company to, like continue doing the innovation in each of these segments.
So at today's stage, digital B2B payments in India would be $100 billion market. Safely to assume that?
I think as per the reports, the market is supposed to be $500 billion by 2025. Right?
Okay.
It can go to 1.5 trillion by 2030.
And how much percentage share of that market you have right now?
Very difficult to say. I think the numbers are largely like small. We don't have the total picture of the real numbers. I mean, a lot of these companies are not public in the first place.
Sure.
Right? But we see ourselves, one of the leaders in like digital first businesses, like in e-commerce, travel, fintech, right? And especially on the SME side, right? Today we get more than 45 to 50% of new SME signups which are happening in India right on Cashfree. Right? We get more than 30,000 leads on Cashfree platform every month, which is a very sizable number. We have clearly won the SME market, right? And we have a very sizable scope in all the segments that I mentioned, right? All the new business models. So those are markets we are going after, and these markets matter to us, and these are the markets where we normally look for which are the winners.
So let's say on one side is Razorpay and one side is you, both very sizable players. What will be the strengths of Razorpay in which markets, and what will be the strengths of yours?
So there are overlap markets, right? I think there are a lot of products which we have pioneered in the industry, likes of payouts, connected banking, verification. And a lot of these markets, we own more than 55-60% of the market share, right? There are markets like payment gateway where we started as one of the latest entrant, and we have grown pretty well, right? And we have a good strength around enterprises because we have a very strong platform approach, right? Where one enterprise can come, they can collect money on Cashfree, they can disburse payouts, they can do risk mitigation of their transactions. They can also get cash advances from us, right? So there are a lot of capabilities we add which are not present in the market like with every other player. And that is where we see a lot of players coming from other incumbents on Cashfree today.
So Nykaa also started on you.
I think Nykaa exists before us. So they moved to us from a different player.
Okay.
I think, but very early in Cashfree journey.
Yeah. And FirstCry was also before you, but they moved to you very early in your journey.
A lot of these merchants which are on Cashfree, I think they moved to us from a different player. And because of capability, because at the end of the day, the market is getting more sophisticated.
Yeah.
Right. All the tech companies or tech-driven companies are becoming more obsessed about the customer experience they have. Right. Everyone would want their customers to have a very delightful experience, and that is where having a very smooth and sophisticated payments, play a significant role. Right. Example. See, I mean, more than 80% of purchase on e-commerce happen on mobile. If your mobile payment experience is not very smooth or like having good conversion, right, then your customer experience will get spoiled and a lot of drop-offs will start to happen. And that is something we have visualized very early. And we have done a lot of optimization mobile to become the best mobile payments provider in India, as of today.
And D2C is also starting on you. We call the D2C recent players.
I think D2C, I think very subset of SME signups we get.
Yeah.
Right. And we are, very much like big cheerleader of D2C companies. And a lot of technologies or products we have built is catering towards them, right? We built this product cash advances like 6 to 8 months back, where if you are a D2C entrepreneur founder, if you need some short-term loan, right, that is something Cashfree can enable for you. Plus, we have a lot of small tools where you can do faster refund. You can convert your COD to pay on delivery, right? So D2C, the idea is how can we help them grow their revenue, right? And not just, help them, with their payments part. So we see ourselves as a growth partner to a lot of these companies. And there are solutions we are building, something around loyalty, couponing, offer engine, right? If you want to say give offers to your customer around certain specific card, right? Say 5% discount if you use credit card of this bank. So those are flows which Cashfree can enable right for you without you having to worry about it.
So BharatPay is also on you, right? Just sharing some names. Would be the backend for Swiggy and Zomato today?
They'll be using one of these incumbents, right? I think there are 2 or 3 significant players in the market today other than Cashfree. Right. So Zomato uses Cashfree for certain flows for us. I think people will come to us eventually. There is some, transition period. At the same time, I think we have a lot of larger internet companies. Cashfree, Swiggy is already a customer. Like Zepto is a customer. Dunzo is a customer. So there's a lot of customers we have from hyperlocal industry. IRCTC is one of the big names that work with us. We have someone like, as I mentioned, CRED is one of the big customers we have. Then we have things like, Meesho. There's a lot of, as I said, right? I mean, the list is pretty big. Right, just a matter of time when we see almost all the internet companies in India using Cashfree for one or the other product.
So you would have the real pulse of India, right? Like how many digital payments are happening per day? from which pockets of India, which pockets are getting activated.
Yeah, we can share a lot of insights. I think, see, by looking at the SME signups, right, we see almost 40-45% signups coming from tier 2, tier 3 cities in India, right? So that tells a lot of businesses are not just being started in metro city, they are being started in the areas which are not very big or not very prime, right? So like central part of India, like from Indore, Nagpur, those are places we get signups. Then from say Gujarat, you get from Surat, Ahmedabad. Then you get from Jaipur. Then you get from say somewhere in like Noida, Lucknow. So a lot of these cities are becoming big growth engine for digital payments. And obviously a lot of these businesses will be selling to local market, which will bring a lot of local consumers on the platform. I think historically, I mean, we have served more than 25 crore unique customers in India so far, right? And they have interacted with Cashfree one way or the other, which is again almost 60-65% total digitally enabled consumers in India today.
And almost 1/5 of the entire population of India.
True. If you look at UPI users, that number will be around 44-45 CR. So that is the superset of the total like digitally enabled customers in India right now. And again, if you look at the bigger number, there are more than 65 crore like smartphone users or users who use WhatsApp. So again, these numbers will continue to grow. There is a big tailwind in the industry, and payments as a business grow with the growth in the market, and that is what we are like betting big on.
Hi everyone. Before we begin, I would like to share that this podcast is brought to you by Prime Venture Partners, an early stage VC fund led by Amir Somani, Shripati Acharya, and Sanjay Swami. Prime is often the first institutional investor in category-defining tech startups in fintech, SaaS, healthcare, and education, such as MyGate, Quizzes, Planet Spark, Bolt, and Clip. To know more about Prime, visit primevp.in.
So what are the unique insights that you had early on in the business that propelled you in the right direction?
Couple of insights. One is the platform approach was very unique.
What does platform approach mean?
Yeah, so before us, a lot of these businesses were single product business. They just had one payment gateway. They're just adding a lot of bells and whistles around it and trying to fit into all the use cases, right? Again, it becomes difficult. And beyond a time, a lot of these companies, we believe, became a distribution heavy company rather than a product company. With a platform approach, you host multiple products on a platform. Again, you coming from AWS background, right? You can connect a lot, right? I mean, rather than just giving one product, there is a bouquet of product, and these products can also talk to each other and help you automate your end-to-end payment flow. The example I gave of hyperlocal company or a food delivery company, right? Their payment flows is not very standard, right? It has like multiple moving pieces. And that is something you can't just solve with one product. It's too difficult. And if you can even build one product for that use case, you can't use for other products. The right strategy here is to build modular solutions, right? So that each modules can be stacked together and give rise to new kind of solution. And which we have done in our journey with likes of Swiggy or MPL, right? And we have done such a stacking and giving them the solution which exactly they are looking for.
So I think you were one of the first companies to be selected along with Razorpay in the initial batches of YC from India.
That's right.
Back when in 2017 you were part of the YC batch. In YC you used to just select 2 or 3 companies per year from India.
True.
Before you, I think Meesho was there and a few other companies were there. So did being part of that YC help you accelerate your journey?
Sort of. I think YC happened 6 years ago. I think we were a very young company, just 5 members sitting out of co-working space. YC is very helpful at a younger stage. It helps you bring clarity to your thought. It helps you bring, what are the strengths you can continue to build on, right? And how do you approach the market, right? Rather than trying, everything possible, right? You should pick your areas where you want to be really best in, or pick your areas where your customers can appreciate you in the best way, right? So those are the good insights we got from YC. It's a very early stage accelerator, helpful for younger companies. But once you start maturing, then I think you have to start applying different thoughts, which again YC also understands, and help you to put the thoughts which are more like mapped to that stage of the company. But it's a good experience. I think we had a batch of 100 other companies globally, so we had a chance to interact with companies which are from different markets, understand their insights, and then learn from other markets.
So Akash, most of the fintech founders, if you see in India, Kunal Shah, Amrish Rao, Jiten, right? Their personalities extroverted, publicly very high energy, right? And you on the other side have built it very quietly. You are very soft-spoken introvert, I believe, right? So how did you were able to channel your strengths in building a really large company?
I think I could be silent, but Cashfree is not a very silent brand. I think we have a very high visibility, and that is shown in the result. As I said, we have 50% upwards of SME signups in India. They're very visible. I think if you have to look for a good payment solution, becomes very
by default people choose.
That was the thing we wanted to prioritize above everything, and we have been able to achieve that goal with a very high like achievement ratio.
And what do you think have been your strengths as a CEO and founder in this journey?
I think the role keeps changing every year. I think initial days it was more around finding the right product. How do we finding right PMF, at what price point this product will work, what are the right features with which this product becomes a saleable product, right? So that was the initial idea. Like also invested a lot of time in onboarding a lot of initial customers, right? All the large brands or names that we have taken. That gives good learning. Slowly and steadily, the role becomes more around culture, like how as a company, how as a larger group, you are well aligned, right? Your execution is top notch. You don't become slow, right? Otherwise, companies beyond a point become very slow, very bloated, right? People spend a lot of time in just communicating messages, right? So we have seen like 30 to 40% of the time people investing just communicating messages. So there's a lot of, drop in efficiency happens once you become bigger. So that is one of the larger area where I spend most of my time on, given that there are 750 hardworking people in the company. How do we make sure their efforts are well capitalized and they're aligned in the same direction rather than they're, getting pulled in a different direction.
So being quite an introvert allows you to be more thoughtful and more inwards thinking about the larger picture.
We have to see. Financial industry is also, it cannot be run on commonsensical thoughts. Right? So you have to spend time on the right knowledge areas. Right? You have to spend time on understanding the customer's, requirement in a well. You need to have very high empathy in both the places, right? Without empathy, you won't be able to build a great product in the first place. So you have to spend time, you have to do your own research. I think that is the key for most of the industries which are in this space, right? Unless you are in a very marketing heavy thing, right? If you are doing something around consumer goods, you have to pull more ideas, being creative and marketing, right? But in fintech, that is not true. Fintech, if you get the product right, distribution is something you can achieve it. And in our industry, distribution becomes a commodity beyond a point. Marketing becomes a commodity beyond a point. Then the only unique thing you have is the product and your service quality. And that is where any company who spends most of their effort and energy, they'll become, bigger. And if you look at global success around this, that is the kind of company which have become successful, not the companies which have cracked distribution very well. Because distribution in the age of internet can be cracked. There's a lot of, standard cheat sheet which companies use. But having a right product and service quality is very important.
But I have a 180 degree, I beg to differ on that. That products can be infinite, but attention is finite. And that's why cracking distribution becomes God if product is the king.
Depends on the industry, but the same as I said, right? I think your product is good enough. And that is something we have been learning, right? And if you look at successful company, you need distribution at the same time. It's not very hard to get it if your product is strong enough. See, B2B as an industry is a very rational decision-making industry, right? People are not making choices basis of impulse, right? So if you are creative on the product, then people are going to buy it because it adds very clear value to you. If a product is of low value, then how much time you spend on distribution is immaterial.
But product, let's say two companies with equally good products, right? And
then the key is like someone who can figure out a low cost of distribution. Right, that is where the innovation is required.
So how did you figure that out early in the journey, the low cost of distribution for?
Low cost distribution is more about, I think it depends, right? For the mass market, Cashfree, we never believed in spending a lot on the ads, right? We spent a lot of time on content marketing. We invested a lot of time on creating videos to help other users integrate Cashfree faster. So we have done a lot of things which are organic and long-term scalable rather than something is short-lived. Right? So imagine if your 80% leads are coming through Google Ads. Right? It is not a very sustainable state for any company. Right? So there's a lot of leads at any point of time have to come through organic channels. And that is where we invested time, significantly in last 3 to 4 years, which are paying off. Like things around, you have to make your, say, blogs very attractive. You have to educate people regularly about what's happening in fintech industry. Right? And also you have to spend a lot of time on your documentation. Right? These are part of marketing. And this also helps you create a brand which makes it very closer to the customers you are targeting. Right? So those are the, I think, more scalable ways of distribution that we adopted. And we have done our share, our own share of advertisement or all through Shark Tank campaign, which is very targeted and which is really helping us connect with the community we want to go after.
So can you share year by year growth since the product launch of Cashfree? Like, let's take a single metric, maybe the net revenue.
I think from financial year 18, I think on all the top metrics like GTV, gross revenue and all, we're growing upwards of 85-100% year over year, right? And we became profitable first in financial year 18 and continue to stay profitable till financial year 22. So
Okay, so last 4 years you have been profitable.
Correct. This year we have grown a bit in terms of talent internally, and we also invested in tech a lot, right? So that's why in India today we are the most technology reliably payments company today, right? We can process more than 1 million payments per day. We can even give you 1000 TPS, right? And so all this required massive investment in the technology we are having, right? But at the same time, I think profitability is not a difficult thing for us to achieve, right? Right now we're also investing into a lot of future revenue growth, future revenue pools, investing a lot on cross-border, soft POS, like things around lending. So a lot of investment has happened this year, and we'll start seeing the result, in the next financial year onwards.
Do you have IPO in your mind for Cashfree in the next few years?
The kind of industry in the way we have built the company in a very linear way, IPO is more like a default route for us. But we still want to hit milestone. I think by end of this financial year, we'll be hitting $100 million of revenue.
Yeah.
We want to go closer to $1 billion worth of revenue, and then we want to explore such route. And this should happen in next 3 to 4 years is what we believe.
So the goal is to have like $1 billion of revenue.
$1 billion of revenue, yeah.
Before you hit IPO.
Before we start exploring, yeah.
Tell us and take us now through, we describe a lot of metrics, we describe a lot of market.
Yeah.
But take us through the emotional journey of a founder that you had in the last 8 years.
It's a good experience to have. I think it has its own ups and downs.
Yeah,
Right,
I would want to share with my audience the more downs that you had during the journey, because ups is already highlighted in the media.
It turns out there are periods where your product is not growing as fast as you want. There are times where customers are taking longer time to say convert. Right? There are times you'll have challenge with your team. Right? You'll have say certain team not at the best shape you want to be. So the right thing is to like keep going closer to the solution. Like, and again, the startup journey makes anyone very humble and patient. That is, and anyone who goes through the journey, I think it's a result. So you have to be patient. You have to be humble. And these are skills, if you have some inherent part already, then I think you can sustain this. And if you find this difficult to sustain, then I see people feel very uncomfortable in this role. Right? So these are the important skill set I think people have to cultivate. I think one shouldn't get disappointed so easily about things, right? Because there will be a lot of disappointments in the journey, right? There will be a lot of areas. At the same time, you need some momentum. You need some ups, right? So that it's like, you charge your battery. And when things are going down, you're not fully drained out.
So, you started in 2015 when the market was really crowded. There were 10-15 players in offering payment gateways, digital payment solutions. And each other was trying to outcompete through discounts, right? How did you manage to steer clear of that? And you were I think one of the least funded players.
That's correct. I think before launching the product, we had a chance to speak with more than 300 merchants, right? I think literally went door to door, understood their problems and understood why their existing payment players are not able to, cater to their needs. That literally told us existing players are not, pushing the bar high enough.
What was the need that existing players were not able to fulfill in very simple language?
I think different. I think something simple. A lot of people were not happy with the COD collection, right? They said, like I have a payment company, but my COD is very cash driven. When I go to collect the cash, a lot of these customers saying I don't have cash. I want to pay digitally, right? So something by doing a small change in your payments product, you can build a solution around it. Right? Then the solution around, say, international payment, right? So there are a lot of smaller areas. Then the solution around dispersal, right? I've collected money from the platform. Now I have to, pay the money to my seller. For that, I have to go to the banking partner and do a different integration. Given that I'm already using your payments product, why can't I do it on the same platform? So a lot of these insights came to us and we understood it, given that this problem existed for a long time. And we don't see the, intent in these companies to go and serve more problems for the businesses. So that told us there is a problem either in the ability or the lack of understanding of the market, right? And given that market was growing and we had enough, and again, when you start a company, you become very, optimistic and opportunistic, right? It's not like we had a very huge data point, but whatever data point we had in front of us was convincing enough for us to start this up. Like just try it out. We got events companies signed up. We got some food delivery companies signed up, very small ones. But it was a good enough to encourage us, keep the momentum. And as we continue to grow bigger, right, we started competing with these companies very head on. And by that time, our products had matured, right? And our main attraction point was, I am going to give you something which no one else is giving, right? And that helped us make entry, right? So as I said, we were the first payments company in India to launch payouts, right? No one had payouts back then.
What do you mean by payouts?
Payouts is a dispersal product. If a company has to, make or transfer money to their vendors, sellers, or customers at mass, then they can use payouts product to do it in a very automatic fashion and in a very scalable and error-free manner. Like say, someone like Dunzo who has to pay to the delivery boys like every 3 days. Given that these guys have more than like lakhs of delivery boys on the platform, it's not easy for them to do it manually. They would need a system which can do the dispersal, automatically. So those are the areas we picked up, right? We made an entry to these companies, and once they're on the platform, we slowly started to understand their other problems and started offering solution to other problems. So that also helped us create a image of being an innovative payments company, right? So end of the day, right, people want to work with a brand which can grow with them or which can continue to solve the problem, right? So this also helped us create a brand over time which can gain trust of people in terms of coming up and building solution for them. And a lot of people like that approach, right? We are not just saying this is what we have. If that doesn't work with, then I can't help you further. We were not of that kind of mindset. We are always having very open mindset, right? You just tell us what problems you are facing. If you don't have a solution, we are going to build it for you. If you have it, then we are going to make sure this is going to help you in the best way. So that the the hunger, entire urge to solve more problems, right? Given that we come from tech background, right? We are able to take those calls faster, right? In other companies which were pretty large, which had a very standard way of deciding in. So that was our advantage. I think that's where I think this, in general, not as any startups can take advantage of moving fast, being nimble.
So what I observed from conversation with you is that while other companies were sticking to being one product only,
Correct,
and trying to figure out distribution, you kept on building multiple products for the
Correct.
same customer.
Correct, right? I mean, able to solve more problems for them, able to literally help them grow in their business, right? That is something end of the businesses like. And again, payments is a very large market which has also worked in favor of it. It's not a small market. And it was a very growing market also, right? Every month we'll have more than 3 to 4,000 merchants looking for online payments back then. So the market was big, right? Even though you're able to cater to 5% of that market at that scale, it becomes a huge gain for you. So that was enough for us to be motivated. That was enough for us to make us relevant. And we also scaled product. We also refined the product significantly. And we also adapted to that, like good tech culture, right? The kind of people we hired were also best in the industry. And that helped us build product at a faster rate compared to other incumbents in the industry.
And have you seen any other industry where this approach helped, like building? Today, how many products you would have?
We have close to 14 to 15 products on the platform right now. Pretty good. I think today, there are 4 umbrellas we work with. One is the collection suite.
Yeah.
So wherever you have to collect revenue from, you can collect via Cashfree. So we have payment gateway, payment links, we have recurring payments like soft POS, bank transfer, right? So it's a full suite of product, right? I mean, the entire revenue can be collected by Cashfree. Then we have a dispersal as a separate stack, right? We have escrow as a service, connected banking, payouts, right? So, and even something around cross-border, which they can use. Then we have things around risk and verification, which is a big area. And then we have like valued services as part of the entire offering.
So you have built the entire umbrella for B2B.
Correct.
Payments,
core payments, and anything which can make payments more accessible, right? More reliable and more safer.
And are you building more products right now after these 15 products?
So right now, I think we are in the phase of scaling products, right? I think the intent is to be like top 3 in whatever products we are building. We just don't want to be one of the 10th players in any of the segment, right? So that's why we are choosing. The intent is to choose the hardest problems in the industry so that we don't have a lot of competition and we can do a best job in bringing the efficiency, right? So our job is to look at like what merchants or businesses do before coming to us. Say before initiating a payment, what are the activities they do? Can Cashfree come and make that activity much seamless for the merchant? Can we make it much cheaper for the merchant? If the answer comes out yes, we go and try to build it ourselves. If the answer is no, then we leave it. That's not the market we want to go get into.
So just mapping out again the entire digital infra. The first is discovery, which most people for a product or a merchant do through Google today.
Correct.
Google or Amazon or Shopify also, right? I've discovered a merchant on Instagram, Facebook or Google. Then once, I land on a merchant who is selling the products digitally, then the entire checkout experience,
Correct.
then the payment, and then the logistics part.
Correct.
So India grew leap by leaps and bounds when Geo was launched, because the first problem was, how do I bring these all people who can shop in these merchants in, which will enable more
Increasing the footfall, yeah.
Yeah, the internet footfall. Parallelly, companies like Delivery were building the logistics layer, right,
Correct.
which were ready at the right time. As timing also mattered for them. And then you were there, solving the payment layer.
Correct.
So I think all the three came together, and that's why the digital infrastructure of India is growing faster than the GDP. That's the joke.
True. True. In the hindsight, I think, the reason for success is it's also, timing played a bigger role, right? And that is true for a lot of companies. If you don't have the right timing, not in favor. After we started, a lot of, as I said, internet economy started to grow significantly. We had demonetization in 2018. We had COVID in 2020. So there have been a lot of tailwinds which worked in favor of digital payments, in a very stronger way.
Would you remember how much you grew in the year of demonetization?
We are, again, unfortunately, we are very small back then to fully leverage it. But as I said, demonetization changed the mindset of people, right? And there has been a long-term change in the approach, right? So, before the businesses are very happy, doing business offline, or very happy collecting cash or something, right? But after demonetization, they felt the importance of digital payment, because due to demonetization, they had to experience it. And once they experienced it, they found the value in it. They found the, outcome they can benefit out digital payments. And then they started moving to digital payments. So if you have to look at the number, I think we should look at the number of merchants adopting online payments after that. And that number really worked in favor of us in coming years.
Let's say it's the same, let's ask for COVID. Once COVID happened, like how much it resulted in growth of Cashfree or of digital merchants? Both.
The number of signups shot up. I think we had more than 3x signups in merchants after COVID, or I think after 8 to 10 months of COVID. Again, not very immediate. But overall, as I said, right, today it's apparent, right? 30,000 signups in a month is a very large number, right? This number used to be less than 5,000, I think, just 2.5 years back. And we grew very significantly. I think market also grown, but we grew, I think, so majority of new growth in the market is coming to Cashfree. That's how we see, right? If there are 50, 60,000 new SMEs coming, like in India, right? So we get 30,000 leads, very comfortably in a month.
I believe just before COVID, you would be at 10 million kind of a revenue and $500 million in yearly GMV.
Yeah, I think GMV has grown 5x in 3 years. Even there's a growth on 3x in the last 1 year. So even if you look 12 months growth, we have grown by 3 times in terms of GTV. So GTV has grown very sharply. I think revenues have grown very sharply.
So any advice for entrepreneurs how to choose tough markets with large tailwinds?
See, one should always choose a large market, right? If market is not large enough, you'll not have enough area to play around. Right? Because as an entrepreneur, you are going to be creative, right? But if your market is very small, your creativity won't be utilized, right? So you'll be stuck with very small market, right? Example, if you're building a very specific enterprise grade SaaS tool, say for delivery companies, right? There'll be 10 delivery companies. If they don't adopt you, then you can't do much, right? So you have to find a very large market. You also have to find a growing market, right? You don't have to build something which is dying, right? Which is not growing or which is just static, right? So there are industries which are not growing, fast enough. So there are a lot of parallels you can draw, but the thing is go after large market, go after growing market, and go after market which is also transitioning, right? Because during a transition period, people look for new areas to optimize their business models. Right? And that is the time they can adopt new things or they can experiment new things. Once the market is saturated, then people won't have appetite to experiment with new products. And that time selling will become too hard. Right? Today, if you're building a new email software, right, the market is very saturated. People have Outlook, Gmail, and 10 other products like Zoho and all. It's difficult to penetrate because no one is looking for email software anymore. Right? Whatever is out there in the market, they're happy with it. Same is going to happen with payments also in next 5 years, right? So whatever payment companies are there today, in 5 years, they'll become more dominant. And it's very difficult to start a payments company. So timing is very important. Yes, you can have ideas around certain areas, But if timing and market is not in your favor, then you can't move the needle significantly. So as an entrepreneur, you have to look about something which is more futuristic, right? Something which is at nascent stage, so that you can play a role in growing it up.
And you came from a non-fintech background, right?
We came from e-commerce background, right? We understood the problem of e-commerce. I used to work at Amazon. My co-founder also was in an e-commerce company, right? So we had that idea, and we're also consumers of payments product, as a end consumer. So we're able to relate. We had an idea. Again, we had very less knowledge, that we didn't know how banking system work. We didn't know how card schemes work. So a lot of these things we have learned while building it. It's been very exciting journey, very fulfilling journey. And very soon we have been able to understand how to build the right product, build right mature product. And today, I think because of that, we are one of the most compliant, payment companies out there in the market, right? The number of, transactions the number of STRs we file is highest in the industry. The number of fraudulent merchant we reject is also very significant. We don't have like any history of fraudulent merchant in a very recent past. So those are things happened because of the, learning we have developed over the period of time.
And what do you think are opportunities that are still unexplored in fintech, especially on the B2B side in India today?
Cross-border is a very big area.
Which one?
Cross-border.
Okay.
If India has to grow bigger in terms of GDP, then we have to enable a lot of exports.
Yeah.
Right. Today, exports it's not very smooth, right? Suppose you are in tier 3 city building a very good product, but your bank doesn't support you accepting payments, say from US or Europe, right? And even though you accept it, your currency conversion is very it's very aggressive, right? I mean, they charge 5 to 7% currency conversion. So you lose your entire market competitivity in pricing, right? Suppose the entire FX fee is like 7%, then you have to hike up your price by 7%. And in the global market, your pricing becomes very costly. So there, the cost of cross-border acceptance has to go down. Then only exporters will feel encouraged to sell at bulk, right? Because it's end of the day a margin game, right? If other countries are able to sell 5% cheaper than you, then no one is going to buy from you the same product. So all should focus. I think this is a very big market. I think it's not something only one payments company can solve. So cross-border is a very big area. Risk and fraud is another big area that we see emerging, right? Due to the launch of UPI and making digital payments more and more convenient. We also saw a big rise in terms of all the incidents around, scamming people or people losing money because of, all these phishing incidents. So that is one area we are very focused on building, proprietary risk engine, which can help any company, discover or identify risky transactions very fast and block it before even it affects the end customer. So these are big areas. I think they are the opportunities in the fintech industry.
In your market, right, the B2B payments for India only, how fast is the market growing, let's say by 2030, right? If I had to imagine what Cashfree would be like.
2030, I think we should be serving 10% total transactions in India. I think today digital payments is like 10-12% of GDP. It will be say 25% of GDP in 5 years. So that will be the size of digital payments in India.
And you would be serving like 10% of the entire digital payments market. But
I mean, there will be, as I said, there will be segments where we want to have 40-50% of the shares, like new business models, right? We will be serving almost most of the digitally enabled customers. But in terms of actual size, I think, as I said, right, if you look at revenue growth, you're looking to hit like $1 billion of revenue by 2027, right? So that is the plan. I think we have in our sight. I think after that, I think there could be some more catalyst which could happen in the industry. There's a lot of organic change itself, but I think there could be more catalyst which can enable the growth of digital payments.
Currently, the fintech industry is also saying that RBI is doing a lot of changes, let's say, for example, on lending and others. How tough is it to be compliant as a small player and, of course, as a large player?
For a small player, I think there's a cost of compliance and there is also a talent requirement to be a compliant.
Okay.
Right. Today, to I think reduce fraud on payment system, you have to understand the mobile technology really well. You have to understand the web technology really well. Right. So one is definitely you have to spend your energy there or money there. Second is you need to have that right talent in the company to even address those problems. Otherwise, there is no solution for these problems on the internet, right? Because these problems are very unique to India. Right. Something as simple as how do we stop, suppose a merchant has signed up on Cashfree. You are given them the credential, right? But that merchant can use the credential any website, that is not authorized. It's very standard thing. But we have, the entire technology in place. We can identify anyone misuses our credential, right? Or see if anyone misuses on the mobile application which they use. But not every small company may in the position to be the compliant. So there's an increased cost of compliance. There's an increased, how to say, ability in the company should be there to comply to these guidelines. It's not very impossible. It's just like you have to be, working in that direction in an active way rather than trying to be reactive to these changes. Compliance is a very standard ask in payments industry because, again, it's a very responsible job. Right? If it gets abused, it impacts a very large section of society. So we have to be very careful of what we are delivering in the market. And end of the day, if you make payments more and more safe, there will be a lot many consumers coming to this space, and they'll grow the digital payments pie. Like end of the day.
Right. And thank you so much, Akash. It's been a wonderful masterclass on digital payments and the growth of Cashfree.
Yeah, thank you, Siddharth. It has been very lovely talking to you today.